What's up, everybody? This is Justin Flinter coming to you live from Northern Virginia with the Justin Flinter podcast by My Mentor Medicine. This month, I had the great opportunity to sit down with Joanne Creary of Well Woman Coaching for our Ask the Expert interview. We talked about her business and her role as a life coach and relationship coach serving the Northern Virginia and Washington, D.C. area. Joanne is an amazing life coach. Her skill set has put her forth into this business, and she has probably the most passion I have seen out of anybody in this area. Together in this interview, we talked about life coaching. We talked about her view being a life coach. We talked about her view as others being life coaches in this world and what ultimately their responsibilities are and should be. We talked about how you, the listener, can benefit by working with a life coach. And we also took a little bit deeper into Joanne's life to understand exactly why it is she chose to become a life coach and how she got to where she is today. So the fact that you're here listening to this podcast means that you are in it for something. There's something out there that you want to achieve. There's something out there that you truly are looking for, that you are perhaps trying to find your purpose or your passion in life. In this podcast, you can learn a little bit about how having a life coach can get you one step closer. So enjoy this podcast and keep a lookout for next month's Ask the Expert interview, which we will announce in a few weeks. I thank you for being here. I thank you for listening. And on behalf of Joanne and myself, enjoy this podcast. This month for Ask the Expert, I brought in an old colleague of mine, an old friend. We've collaborated in so many ways. There's too much to share with you. Which we will throughout the interview, but in one little bit we can't do that. But this is Joanne Creary. She is the owner of Well Woman Coaching. She's been a life coach for a while now, even though she's now just started to pursue the business aspect of it and really get herself out into the world with this art. And I have a few statistics. She has a long career, roughly 30 years in communications in a lot of prestigious organizations across the world. And she is also an advocate for survivors of domestic violence. And she, as I mentioned, she is the owner of Well Woman Coaching right here in the DC metro area and also online and via phone with all the technology. Given we don't have any glitches, she can help you across the world. So it is my pleasure to have you here, Joanne. I am so excited that we finally got the chance to do this interview.
Thank you, Justin. It's my absolute pleasure to be here.
Good. Would you mind sharing a few words with the audience out here about yourself and what it is that you do? We'll go into a lot more questions, but give them a little intro.
Happy to. So, as Justin said, I'm Joanne Creary, and I have worked in corporate communications and in the publishing industry for close to 30 years, though not continuously. I took time off to freelance while I was raising my son. And now I am transitioning into full-time coaching and some writing, which goes along with that. Mm-hmm. So it's a very exciting time for me.
I can tell, which is why we have you here. Because I want everyone out here to know exactly what this woman can offer for you when it comes to coaching. We'll talk a little bit about coaching from her perspective as a coach and also from your perspective being the one who would come to see a coach, because there's a lot of misconceptions out there about what coaching actually is about. Is it more of therapy? Is it counseling? Is it an entity of its own? What exactly is it? Which category? So we'll touch on those things. I know you're passionate about it, so hold your horses, Joe. It's okay.
I'll try.
We will. So first off, before we dive directly into coaching, I want to get to know a little bit more about Well Woman Coaching.
Okay. Well Woman Coaching was born out of my passion to help people, and women in particular. Okay. I have a particular heart for women who struggle with the inevitable losses and disappointments and grief. You know, we live in a world where this is part of life. Unfortunately, sometimes people get stuck. You and I have talked a lot about the stories we tell ourselves.
That's right. Stories.
Right. And sometimes those stories that we tell ourselves about our experiences keep us stuck in places that no longer serve us.
Exactly.
So my passion is to help people see where they're stuck, imagine a much more purpose-filled, exciting life, and then help them map out and take the steps toward living those dreams.
Exactly. Okay. And you've done that, and you've just begun getting the word out on Well Woman Coaching. You have a website up, you have everything that you need essentially for this business to begin to thrive. And now you're just injecting the passion into it so that people can start to see.
Mostly, not just my passion, which has always been there, but the time and attention that you need. Know that I have made the jump from having a full-time corporate career and trying to build this on the side to making this the focus of what I do.
That's a good point. I mean, I imagine there's a lot of people out there that are passionate about something, but they're not quite sure how to do it. So your journey, just like everyone else's journey, is very unique. So could you elaborate a little bit and share your experience of moving from this 30 plus, or roughly 30 years of experience in the communication field to doing your passion on the side, and now leaving that and doing this the whole time?
Sure. My journey toward this place where I am now actually started almost 15 years ago.
15 years
15
ago.
years ago. I think that's about when I first heard the term life coach.
Life coach, okay.
And there was something in my spirit that came alive when I heard the word.
Just from hearing the words alone.
Because even though I'd never heard of it as a profession,
right?
It was, in those days, it would have been fledgling, you know. It's still a very young, relatively new profession. I looked up what that meant, and there was a part of my spirit that just like exploded, because I knew immediately that was what I was called to do, you know. Prior to that, it was actually at about the same time, I had started working on a master's in mental health counseling. Again, it's been part of the journey of this desire to help people who are struggling with those emotional issues.
Exactly.
Live better lives, get healing, and live with more passion. It's a cliche almost to say more passion and more purpose, but it's really possible, you know.
Especially with mental health disorders, because those are the ones that rarely, if at all, show any kind of physical, they show a manifestation emotionally, but physically there's really no way for us to go into the body and say, oh, the level of this in your body is too high, or this is too low, therefore you have this disease, or this illness, whatever it is. So mental disease is really one that is helped mostly through support, conversation, backing by an individual such as yourself, such as a life coach. So you have then utilized your background with mental health in terms of your education to amplify what you're doing now.
Yes,
so is that a lot of the clientele that you're helping? I see it's Well Woman Coaching.
It's Well Woman Coaching. And there's a sort of play on those words because my faith informs my coaching. And if you're not familiar with the teachings of the Bible, you may not realize that there is a story in the Bible of Jesus encountering a woman at a well, and she was transformed by that encounter with him. Okay, so although I coach from that place, I don't coach only Christians.
I was just going to
Yes,
ask
yes.
so that the audience is aware.
Absolutely. Just to
Yeah.
be clear, this is my worldview. I absolutely respect other people's right to have a different worldview or have the same worldview, and I coach appropriately. I will admit that I encourage my clients to incorporate some kind of spiritual practice into their lives. But again, it's entirely their individual choice.
Exactly, because everyone's coming from a different place.
Exactly.
And although your coaching is coming from this place that you actually receive your passion, so to speak, there's a lot of elements that are being drawn from that that drive you to help them. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be Christian to come and see Joanne.
Absolutely not.
Right.
Yes.
And also I would assume that if a man comes to you, that
In
you
the
would not
same
turn
way.
them away.
Exactly, I would not.
So don't allow the name of the company to discourage
you. We're human, and we all share the same experiences of grief and loss.
Exactly.
In fact, I am a big, I mentioned earlier, proponent of there's a sort of body of knowledge that's being built up now around what's called narrative coaching.
Oh, okay.
Right, which is helping clients to see the stories in their lives, right, and to work with those stories in ways that serve where they want to go in their lives, right?
Okay.
I'm fascinated by that because having that background in mental health, we know that people get stuck. There, you filter your experience, the reality, the facts of what happened in a particular experience is not the story. The story is how you experience that.
Right. It sounds like it's an extension of like cognitive behavioral
That's
therapy.
exactly it, which appealed to me in my mental health training. And so there's a very natural fit between cognitive behavioral therapy and narrative coaching.
Yeah.
So you see the synergy
I
there.
do.
Yeah.
So for those of you out there who may not be familiar, cognitive behavioral therapy is essentially when you have an experience in life and then your emotional reaction becomes your definition of every time you experience that throughout your life. For example, you get bit by a dog. 10 years later, you encounter the same kind of dog, and then you're immediately put into a state of fright, even if that dog has no intention of biting and is the most friendliest dog on the planet.
You're still
reacting based off of that story. So the extension of that, it sounds like, is retraining the narrative that person tells throughout the time. So that is extremely powerful.
It is.
Because the stories we tell define how we live every single day of our life.
How we react to every occurrence.
And then what kind of destiny or whatever word we put a label on it. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've already answered this next question, which is when did you decide to become a life coach? Which you said was about 15 years ago when you heard the word.
When I heard the word,
who said life coach, or where did you read it?
I had to have read it somewhere. I don't remember now. I remember where I was.
Oh.
I was actually at work.
Can you share that?
I was actually at work. I was sitting at my desk in my office at work. And I was working as an editor, as a production editor in a publishing house. And so it may have been a manuscript I was editing. I honestly don't remember, but the concept just kind of hit me, and I thought, that's what I am. It was just that moment of knowing that you get sometimes. And so I didn't run out and quit my job and become a life coach. I had a son to raise and a roof to keep over my head.
You made a wise decision, not on a whim, and just like out. And, that makes sense. And then,
but, almost everything that's happened in my life since then has kind of led me in this direction. It's not coincidental. There are no coincidences. That when I moved to Washington, to the DC area, I was then working with a sister, another international organization than the one I just retired from. and they had brought in a life coach to do some wellness. It was like a stress workshop or something. They brought in a life coach to do a workshop with us. I ended up doing some group coaching with her, wonderful woman, and I was hooked. You know, it seemed to me that there is a gap between the needs that a therapist needs, a mental health therapist, and what a life coach has to offer. Because quite often you don't have a clinical manifestation of being stuck.
Right.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean? But you're aware that something is missing. And that's where a coach can come alongside you and help you identify what that thing is.
So I'm going to have you take a step back for a second.
Sure.
And for the audience's sake, can you talk a little bit about what is a life coach? And how is it different from going to a counselor, from getting a therapy from a psychologist? How is it different specifically?
Okay, that's something that we need to be very clear about when we're working with clients. It's not therapy. It's not advice giving. It's not mental health counseling. It's not a friendly conversation, right? A life coach is someone who walks with you for a period of your life in a specific area that you need help with. So there are relationship coaches, there are spiritual coaches, there are life transitions, there are grief coaches, there are writing coaches. And what a coach does is, for me, the most important part of coaching is helping the client to just catch a vision. Imagine what life would look like if you were to do what it is that you're longing for.
Take a moment and let that sink in. Can you repeat that for them?
I'll paraphrase. I don't know if I can say that.
Just that last part. Just the last part.
People imagining what life would be like, would look like, if you were able to live in the way that you're pining for or longing for.
Right.
Most of us are walking around with this thing, this weight, this heaviness, it's a lost dream usually from childhood, that somebody told you didn't make sense, or you couldn't be, or life crowded it on you and you forgot about it, but it's still there.
It's usually not I want to be a firefighter when I grow up. It may very well be.
Yeah.
However, once we travel through life a little bit more and we start to experience, at least this is my experience, by no means anybody else's or yours, but we travel through life. I have traveled through life, and I begin to, at this point, I can reflect back on my life and see there are some reoccurrences here.
Exactly.
In the things that I like to do. And when I get back into those similar kind of situations, I notice that there's a part of me that surfaces. There's a warmth, my eyes are open, I feel very energetic, I can't stop talking. It's like the opposite of cognitive behavioral therapy. It's like I put myself through the therapy that I know that the story that I'm telling, or that I have told that maybe I just wasn't paying attention to, is the story that I should be telling.
That you should be telling, exactly.
So imagine what your life would look like if you were living every day the thing that you were most passionate about.
Yes.
That is a strong and powerful way to live.
Yes, it is.
And essentially, that is the message that you are helping them to decipher.
To go look past all the I should be, the shoulds.
Right.
You know, this is what I should be, this is what I must be, and explore who actually lives under all of that.
And it also, we want to be careful that it doesn't mean that everyone out there is living the way that they shouldn't be right now. It could mean that you're in the right place, but maybe you have some additional things that are clouding over and you're not quite sure how to get past that. I have all this stuff with my children to deal with. I have these other elements of my life that I don't really know how to control. Maybe it's finances, maybe it's parts of family relationships.
Exactly.
And those are the things that you can also assist with,
absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
So that they can stay on that path.
Stay, yes, yeah. It's about living life fully. It's about living as with as much purpose and meaning as is possible to live in this world. And so, yeah, there's nothing, and that's my calling.
See this?
That's where
she's coming up. She's opening herself to the world. She's saying, "Come and see me."
And that's what happens with a client when you help them to arrive at that stage, where you can see the energy shift, you know, and there's a moment that is just magical. You know.
And I can speak firsthand because Joanne has actually helped me from time to time. When I get into a rough stop, I'll give her a call or I'll ask her, "Hey, can you come in? I just need to chat a little bit." And she's very open to that, which I'm very grateful for. So thank you for your flexibility.
You're welcome.
And with that, I have been able to work through and discover the path that I know that I'm on, but you know, we always question ourselves.
Yes, yes.
Should I really be doing this? This is a lot of time and effort. Am I doing the right thing?
Yeah.
And then you come in and then you say, "Justin, tell that little part of you to shut up inside and just keep doing what you're doing." Because you know deep inside that this is where you're supposed to go.
Exactly.
So it's a little oomph behind me that says, "Don't slow down. Don't slow down, and definitely don't stop."
Right.
So
to get back to, you know, what a life coach does, they hold up a mirror to you.
I like that
They
analogy.
hold up that mirror. They challenge you. They give you that little nudge when you need it. Accountability, whatever, because it's client focused, right? So each client needs a different combination of ways tools that we have to help them. You know, it's not cookie cutter. Help them take those steps.
Exactly.
You know.
So I think this is a good point to remind everyone that if you have any questions or comments, please send them in. Joanne is here. I'm here if you have any questions for us, or even if you just have something you want to say, or throw a little smiley face up there if you like what we're talking about, or you like the message she's delivering. Feel free. We're here for the next, however long we're here, maybe even all night. We're both so passionate about this topic. But we'll try to keep it on track so we're not here all night. The next question that I have is, what do you find yourself coaching people on the most? And why do you think that is?
Yeah. The thing I coach most on actually is people feeling like they need to move, like they're stuck somewhere, and this is quite often exactly the words they use. But more and more, I've had clients who are they're aware that maybe their careers are stuck, and they come with that, you know, I don't know, I need to make a change, but I don't quite know what that change should be. Or quite often they know what the change could be, they just need some encouragement, some help, some perspective, help to get a better perspective.
If I may, what does that look like in a person? What kind of things should they maybe look for or be aware of when they do have those thoughts? Or maybe they're not even aware mentally, but they know that maybe they keep running into the same situation. What kind of things would a client particularly tell you in that regard? Signs and symptoms.
Sure. people use different language. People have different styles of communicating.
Okay.
So it could be as general as just this vague dissatisfaction with, I have a good job, I should be happy, but I dread going to work every morning.
We just do it for a paycheck, right?
We're doing it for a paycheck.
We hear that a lot.
I get to, one client said, I get to my office and I sit in my car and I just don't want to go inside. That's a sign that something is wrong.
Absolutely.
That something needs to change.
Yes.
But it's a big scary thing to do.
Yeah.
I have clients who are trying to decide whether to go the route of entrepreneurship and give up the security of a regular job, for example. And the inner critic tells them they can't do it, But when you talk with them, you can see that they've been laying the groundwork, So it's fear of stepping off that ledge, and that's where a coach can encourage you. And it could be your career, it could be something in your family, it could be, as you said, finances. It's how to find the source of that dissatisfaction, or stuckness, I like to call it, and figure out what needs to happen to make life feel richer and fuller.
So it sounds as though you're playing an almost neutral but motivating role for the individual who may not be as comfortable even discussing it with the people closest to them, because they might feel a little vulnerable, or maybe they feel as though, I don't really want to share this with them. I want to keep my posture and I want to look strong for the people that I'm trying to support.
Exactly.
So you are the intermediary for them to make sure they follow on what it is they see themselves doing. It doesn't mean you have all the answers, like, how do I make $1 million?
No. In fact, the coach is not the expert at all.
That's right.
Right? The client is the expert on his or her life.
This is Ask the Expert, so you have to be somewhat of an expert here, Joanne.
Well, I have tools.
In everyone's eyes and in my eyes, you are an expert at this art. However,
what I meant was, I'm not the expert in the client's life.
Correct.
The client is.
I understand. Yes.
And so I don't come with a prescription.
Right. That's right.
I help you to dig and find the cure yourself.
That means the work is in your hands.
Yes.
She's here to help you.
Yes.
But the work is ultimately in your hands. It's
hands.
like the ratio that one of my teachers used to tell me. It's basically the
80-20 rule?
Yeah, well, 1 to 167.
Okay, that's
it's
a new one.
168 hours in a week. You spend 1 hour with me a week to get your coaching or to get your acupuncture. 167 hours left. What are you going to do with them?
Right. For us coaches, the 80-20 rule is a ratio of how much I talk versus how much the client talks.
Yep.
If the coach is doing all the talking, then the coach is doing the work.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. So that's another measure of how, one of the ways we assess our effectiveness in self-assessing is how much talking did I do during that session? Because if the client is listening, then you're doing all the work.
Unless they need a little kick in the rear and say, come on, get up, say something, do something.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to allow the silence to settle.
Exactly.
Because in that silence, sometimes that's where the insights and the answers come. So
that's very good. So how can people find a coach like you? Or if they're not in the area, where can they go?
The best way to find a reputable trained coach, because there are people, unfortunately, who bill themselves as coaches who are not formally trained, and it's a relatively new profession, and so and very few. They're not yet regulated in the way physicians are, or it's a self-regulating industry. And so I recommend that people go to the website of the International Coach Federation, which is sort of the gold standard in the industry.
Okay, that's the International Coach
Federation.
Not coaching.
No,
Coach Federation.
Okay,
Coach Federation.
There are other similar organizations. There's the Christian Coaching Network, which I also belong to.
Okay.
Most of those kind of umbrella organizations maintain directories of their member coaches.
Okay.
The International Coach Federation also has a code of ethics that, as a member of the International Coach Federation, I am bound to observe in my practice. So there are standards of practice for people who are members of organizations like these. So if you're looking for a coach and you're not in the DC area, then go to the website of an organization like the International Coach Federation.
Exactly. I think there's a lot of professions out there that you have quite a range of people that are advertising that I am really good at this, I'm an expert at that.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you want to look for an individual who has shown some results in what they do, in addition to being trained in some capacity.
Precisely.
So that you can feel comfortable. So there are plenty of people out there that are good at selling the art.
Yes.
There are plenty of people who are out there who are good at actually performing the art. And then there's a nice combination of both.
Of both, exactly.
So you have to find the best one that works for you. If you are not in the area and you're still not comfortable trying to find a coach, you can reach out to either Joanne or you can reach to her through me. If for some reason you should be able to get to her because I have all of her information available. But reach out to Joanne and she can point you in the right direction.
Exactly.
If you do live in this area, you have no excuses because you should go to Well Woman Coaching, man or woman, child or anyone else. Wellwomancoaching.com. So the next question I have is, what should you elaborated on it a little bit, but maybe just repeat it and add a few more things. What should people expect when they come to see a coach? What would their first or second or third session sound like or look like?
Okay. Let's start with the introductory session, where we spend a little time getting to know the client, asking them, what's going on in their lives. We're getting to know each other and establishing a relationship, It's a professional relationship, but it's a relationship that involves trust and give and take. If you can't establish that rapport, then, the open dialogue that coaching requires isn't going to take place. Mm-hmm. So we spend the first session or two getting to know each other, and we use assessment tools. I like to use a wheel of life with my clients.
I remember saying that. Yes.
A wheel of life which sort of looks at different modalities in a person's life, their career, their family relationships, their social networks, their spiritual values, and sort of allows them to rate themselves in each of those areas. That's often a snapshot of where the client is and the areas in their lives that may benefit from, if you rated yourself as a 3 in this area of your life instead of a 7, what can we do to move the needle in this area of your life? Mm-hmm. And that provides the basis. Sometimes the client knows exactly what they want coaching on, and sometimes they just have a general sense that something needs to get fixed, and that's a good place to start.
Good. Okay. And then you would move forward.
And then we move forward from there.
Homework.
Each session, yes. We have a variety of tools, just like in any profession, that we tailor to fit the needs of the client. And each session, the client tells you what they want to leave with, what they want coaching on that day, even though you may be working in a specific area of that person's life. Between one coaching session and the next, things change, things happen. So each time the client comes, they get to determine what they talk about that day, what they focus their attention on that day.
Because they have some kind of direction they're going in, and you're guiding them continuously there.
Along that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So roughly, if someone comes in for such as a situation that you're talking about, or the concerns that they're talking about, how long would it take for them to see a little bit of progress, if not a lot of progress?
We like to have our clients commit to at least 6 sessions. 4 to 6 sessions, I think, is sort of a reasonable average for the client to feel like a shift is taking place. Sometimes it happens in the first or second session. There's that light bulb moment. That is just so amazing when it happens. It doesn't mean that the coaching relationship ends. It means that the client has caught hold of that vision and is now ready to actually do the work.
And that's when I have experienced those moments. It's when you get a little bit of butterflies in your stomach.
Yes.
Oh,
Something's shifting.
Something's going on here. I don't know if I like this. Getting ready for that roller coaster. It's the downhill slope.
Yeah.
You're right at the top. No, take me off the coaster, but I can't get off.
Exactly, it's your life. And change is always uncomfortable.
So you're strapping them in.
I'm
saying,
the safety
we're on
belt.
a safe ride.
Exactly.
Don't worry. So you're the safety belt.
Yeah, I'm
like
the
that.
safety belt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So can you share a story about someone you've coached before? I mean, of course, use a fictitious name, all
Of course.
confidentiality.
No, of course.
Confidentiality.
Yeah. One of my favorite tools, if you like, techniques, is to do let's say guided visualization exercises with my clients, because like I said earlier, when you can get the client to really catch a hold of a vision, the possibility that their lives could be different, and you can get them to see that and imagine what it looks like and what it feels like. It just helps them be ready to move forward, because they can actually imagine what it would be like.
So you use this a lot with people.
I use this a lot. It doesn't work with, I've had clients that it doesn't work with, because that's not their learning mode.
Right.
People have different modalities.
Yeah.
But it works quite often, and so I try when it seems appropriate. And I had this one client, I was doing this visualization exercise with one time. And at the end, we came back to the present moment. And she went, wow.
So what happened? What did she visualize, or what changed? What happened?
I think there was just this realization, this shift. It was almost for her in that, but I won't tell, but
sure.
For her in that moment, it was really just seeing possibility. Quite often when people are frantically telling themselves a story about what's going on in their lives, it's like mice scurrying around in your brain.
Mm-hmm. It's a great analogy.
And so having permission to just stop and breathe long enough to do that exercise quieted the pitter-patter of those scurrying little feet in your brain, and allowed clarity to break through.
Sounds a little bit like meditation in some ways.
The same,
Just
yes.
calming the mind, but you are
Exactly.
actually inviting the person to travel somewhere.
And
so to
imagining,
speak.
yes, to imagine
Yes.
what it would be like if something was different.
Something was different.
Yeah, I do practice myself and encourage my clients to practice some form of mindfulness meditation as well.
On a daily, regular basis, what kind of things do you have to maintain? I mean, yourself in this world. I mean, I
Well,
don't put any
self-care,
labels on it, but
but
self-care.
self-care is what it is. I encourage my clients to find ways to take care of themselves. We're all busy, we're all stressed out, we're all playing multiple roles. And it's easy to get lost, to lose yourself in that. So I, to varying degrees of success and with varying, don't look at me like that.
No. I'm curious about what's coming next.
I try to practice. This is how put it this way.
Sure.
This is how I practice mindfulness most.
Okay.
One of the first things I do in the mornings, once I get up, is to walk my little dog. Right?
And your dog's name is?
His name is Chez.
And
He's
the dog
an
is
8-pound toy poodle.
8-pound toy poodle named
He's the
Chez.
cutest little thing.
Okay.
So I walk him in the mornings, and he's this tiny little thing, and hasn't got a job to go to, So he wanders around and he sniffs at the flowers, and he stops to sniff at the light post where the dogs before him have left their mark, and so on, And I use that time to look around me. I look up at the sky. I practice gratitude. I give thanks.
That's big.
The sky is blue. It's a beautiful day. Thank you, Lord. The sky is gray and cloudy, but look at the fascinating shapes of the clouds. Isn't God amazing? If it's winter time, I'm always fascinated by the shapes of the branches without the leaves. I like to look at them against, sort of in silhouette, and just simple things, being aware of what's around you, instead of being inside your head with one of those stories that we tell. Living your day already in your mind, instead of being in the moment where you are.
Yeah, so the moment you wake up, you have to begin this cycle of being in tune with what it is you are meant to be doing.
Exactly.
Or if it's something in nature, if you're going out walking your dog in the morning, or maybe doing a little exercise outdoors, going for a run, or just meditating, or just sitting on your back porch drinking your cup of coffee.
Exactly. Take that moment, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, however much time you can afford. It is not a luxury to take that time for yourself. It's a necessity.
It's a necessity.
To your well-being.
The one thing we can control, believe it or not,
Yes.
is time.
Yes.
By doing these things.
Exactly. And so I believe very strongly in doing that and teaching, helping my clients to adopt practices that are appropriate for their lifestyles. Clearly if you have a 6-month-old baby, then you don't get to go for,
But there's different ways
there
that
are ways.
person can
There
design
are
how
ways.
to make room for those kind of things.
Everybody can.
Everyone's life is fuller than another's, or less full than another individual. So there's always a way that we can
There's
find
a way.
time
Yes.
and energy.
Yes.
So, okay, so how about this? There might be some people out here who are actually interested in becoming a coach. So what advice can you provide for them? So this might be the first time they have heard the terms life coach. So just as you were inspired, they may now be inspired, saying, this sounds really intriguing.
It's a great.
What steps could they take to possibly be in your shoes, or maybe have you as a mentor, or even across the world, figure out what kind of things they could do to transform into this type of role?
That's a great question. The first thing I think would be to identify somewhere to get the training.
Okay.
And I'll go back to the ICF, the International Coach Federation. They maintain a list of accredited coach training schools on their website. For ICF accreditation, the school must offer a minimum number, 60-something hours, whatever it is, of ICF approved training hours, practical experience, a combination of requirements like those. So if you are interested in that, first of all, is examine whether this is the time in your life when you can go back to school, as it were. It's not a long-term commitment like getting a master's degree or or PhD or something.
It's like on the side kind of thing, certificate.
Most of them, yes. I think my initial coach training, if I remember correctly, took 16 weeks.
16 weeks.
16 weeks,
Okay.
with tools. The particular design of the course I did was online. It was which the technology allows us to do now, where we met in a virtual environment with our teacher. The class met virtually for 3 hours twice a week. So it was pretty intense, But a lot of the training was also practicing coaching. It was experiential.
That's important, because you have to have that experience. Otherwise, if you're just doing it on your own, there's really no place in a controlled environment to say...
To get the feedback.
That's right, to get the feedback. This is great, this is what you can work on,
Exactly.
this is what people got out of it. So
Exactly.
that's excellent.
So and you can contact me for referrals to my training school. I won't.
There we go. Okay, so she has some connections as well as some skills that she can pass on.
Yes.
This is good. Is there anything that you can offer to the viewers? Is there anything that you would like to extend, perhaps?
Yeah, I would just encourage anyone who is interested in finding out to go to my website and sign up for some coaching. What I most often do is offer a initial half-hour session at no charge.
Okay.
For people to get some understanding of whether this is for them.
Like a consult.
Yes, like a consult.
Introduction.
An introductory coaching session. And then I will offer a discount to people who watch this program and sign up
Good.
for ongoing coaching with me. So if people sign up then and say that they've heard about me through this video.
Okay. So go to wellwomancoaching.com.
Yes.
And sign up for a session with Joanne and mention this video, and she will move forward with all of the things that she just mentioned, a free 30-minute introductory session of coaching, and then from there on out, you guys can work together to see you live your passion.
Oh, I can't wait.
Neither can I. I want to hear more stories when you have me come back. So that brings me to your story. So we're going to get a little bit closer. We can move our seats in and all these things. So my question to you, listen up. This is a good question. Could you share with us one story that no one has heard before about a time where your life changed dramatically and helped shape who you are today?
Oh my. How about I answer it this way? That Hmm. The 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 um the experience I had. Don't laugh at me.
I'm not laughing. By no means am I laughing. I'm interested. I want to see. I'm on the edge of my seat, even though I'm trying to, stay back. I'm curious. I want to know.
Okay.
I mean, I've known you for a long time, but
You have.
there's a lot of stories about every person, just like your clients. We don't know.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I love to do is to listen.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you're my storyteller right now. You're their storyteller right now. So tell us a story, Joanne. We're like,
Okay.
we're little kids. I'm sitting there. I'm like wiggling in my seat. Justin, sit down. All right.
Okay.
So what's something that I don't know about you? I know a lot about you.
Yeah.
I know where you're from. I know a little about your family, etc., so on and so forth. They don't. So it's
Okay.
going to be a little bit tougher because I'm here.
Okay.
What do you got?
So I think I'll tell the story of. It's not a story, it's a series of stories, really. Don't look so worried.
I'm not worried. I'm not worried. We're here all night, remember? It's okay.
My journey to this point started about maybe 20 years ago. There were a series of events in my life at roughly the same time that sort of came together to shape who the person I've become. One of them, and they all sort of happened within a 6-month period. I had this sort of existential crisis, alias midlife crisis.
Okay.
I was turning the big 4-0, and I don't know what it is about that number that makes a lot of us go, oh, my life is half over. What have I done? What have I done with myself? I haven't accomplished anything. Meltdown moment. Even though in reality I had a lot. I had a wonderful son. I was married. In
the moment, though, you probably
in the
didn't
moment,
think of those things.
no, I had set out to conquer the world. We leave high school or college or whatever.
Yeah, and you reach that point, and the plate's still not full.
I'm so.
So then, what happened?
So there was that. My dad went through a prolonged illness and eventually passed. Which was painful, but also it was a spiritual experience watching him approach death. I was actually with him when he passed. And I'm glad I was, and somewhere in all of that, out of all of that kind of cauldron of emotions bubbling, that's when I sort of took the step of committing to living a life of faith. So out of all of that came a sense of direction that I hadn't had before, a sense of purpose, really. This is what my life is for. It's to live a life that's pleasing to God, And so even though I don't get up in a pulpit on Sunday morning and preach sermons, but that decision to become a person of faith has shaped everything I've done since that.
So the passing of your father essentially brought new life to you.
I hadn't thought of it like that.
So he gave you a gift.
He did. He absolutely did.
And then
Yes,
how did that
he did.
gift transform?
I remember when he got ill, and I don't want to be macabre about it, but when he got ill, I remember just praying that he would, because he was a very proud man and very filled with very, he was a gentleman in the old school sense of the word, gentleman. And so I remember praying that he would die with dignity, and I was there. I got to be there and to see that my prayer was answered.
That's a blessing.
Yeah.
Huge blessing.
Yeah. And so that was kind of the first plank in my walk of faith. That my father was given the gift of dying with peace and dignity. And I was given the gift of witnessing that, of being with him, And so when I talk about helping people to live, I don't believe that we have to stay in a place of pain and suffering. I believe that we can choose to step out of that into peace and serenity and contentment, But you can't do that if you're telling yourself stories that keep you stuck in things that are causing you pain.
That's right.
Whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah.
So okay. So
you
got me on my soap.
That's a beautiful soapbox, and I think that's a story that a lot of people. There may be some people watching that have been able to experience the passing of a loved one right in front of your eyes. I know for myself, a few of my grandparents. My brother was present. I was not because of distance. I wasn't able to be there in time, but the experience that was shared with me from those relatives is just beautiful to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine what it's like to experience. And in the moment for you, as I mentioned, it sounds as though there was a gift. His breath was passed on to you, so you absorbed it, took it, and now you're running with it.
I like that imagery.
How proud would he be to see you jogging through life?
Thank you, Justin. That was just, you gave me a gift. I've always felt my father gave me a blessing of words very early in my life when I married. And he didn't say it to me, he said it to the man I was marrying, who repeated it to me some months later, who said, "You're marrying a woman who has so much love in her heart." And so we bless our children with the words we speak over them.
Yes.
The things we say to and about our children.
Correct.
Quite often come to pass in their lives. And I feel like that was a blessing from my father that has given me this capacity to share myself.
Exactly.
Through my coaching.
And it is obvious that you have taken it, and as I said, you've run with it. You have made it a part of you, and it has transformed into who you are.
It really, yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing the story. So, I don't know how I can go off of that long story. I had a couple other questions, but I really don't know where to go from there. You got me. So, moving through life, having this gift from your father and going throughout the next several decades as a communications artist, we'll leave it as artist, professional, and now as a coach, what is one important lesson you've learned along the way that you can share with everyone through your learnings across time?
I think the one lesson I've learned, I'm hesitating because I don't know if it's a lesson or if it's just the way I view the world, is that you do have, each person has agency. In other words, you can change your story.
Yes.
You can't change the ending.
That's right.
You know, I'm always amazed when I talk to people who really feel helpless about the way their life is. You know, because it's why I do what I do. I believe in the possibility of change, and I believe that we have the power to make those changes. Clearly, you know, there are physical limitations, there might be, you know, realities that might keep us from scaling Mount Everest, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you can affect how your story unfolds. You're not being
100%.
acted upon.
100%.
You're an actor in your life story.
We're writing our story of life. Why can't we rewrite it?
You can rewrite it at any point.
Just change the direction
And
of the story.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I coach.
Right. That's fantastic. So before I ask you my last question,
Okay.
this is your last chance to send any comments or questions to us, if you have any at this time. So I will have one more question. It seems like we might have one. Let me take a look and see. Okay, we do have two questions here.
Okay.
First question is, any tips for a cancer coach? I'm sorry,
Career coach.
career. Well, we can answer both.
Yeah.
If there's a coach for
Okay.
health-related issues,
There are coaches.
and if there are
who
coaches
do
related
have-
to career.
Yes. I'm not sure whether this person is asking because they're looking for a career coach or because they are a career coach. It's a little ambiguous. I'm assuming that this is a question from a person who is looking for a career coach.
Okay, answer it from both directions, I guess.
Okay.
Try.
The answer is I do career coaching.
Answer is you do career coaching.
answer
So if you're
is I
looking
do
for a
career
career coach,
coaching.
there's one sitting next to me. So,
And I might add, I didn't mention this earlier, that I'm trained to do coaching using the various technologies that exist. So you do not have to be in the metro area to meet face to face with me. I coach on the telephone, I coach using Skype
That's
and
helpful.
FaceTime.
it's very helpful, yeah.
Any combination that works. So if you're located, you know, in on the other side of the continent, you know, I can still.
Yeah, with
coach.
technology, just as we're doing today, you can reach her really at any point, almost any time. Not in the middle of the night, I know.
Not in the middle of the night.
You can. So it does not matter.
It doesn't
if
matter
you're
where you're
low on
located.
time. She said 30 minutes. She'll give you 30 minutes of her time. You give her 30 minutes of yours. You can be on the phone. I'm sure you can spare 30 minutes at any point. And it's a free
Exactly.
first session. So go to her website, find her information, say, I watched this interview, and then she'll follow forward and get in touch with you to set up your first session. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world.
Right.
You guys can work on that. Now, when I stumbled a little bit reading it, is there also different, are there different
yes.
kinds? Health coaches, for example?
There are health coaches.
Is that something
there are,
you do?
It's not. It's not one of my strong suits. Let's say. If there's a general health concern, for example, I can coach somebody who is trying to adopt a healthier lifestyle.
Okay.
Those kinds of general health related issues. I would not be comfortable coaching someone with a specific illness. There are coaches, and I'd be happy to help with a referral to someone. There are people, I have colleagues who coach cancer survivors. I do. Colleagues who do grief coaching, you know, if you've lost a loved one.
That's a powerful one. That's a good one.
Right. And I'm happy to do referrals too.
Okay. Good. So if you have any questions about maybe a specific kind of life coach, you can just still get in touch with Joanne.
Yes, absolutely.
And perhaps the third version of the first question, which is any tips for someone who is a coach. So from coach to coach, what kind of tips?
Career coaching requires that you you have access to the tools that there are questionnaires and surveys that we use to gauge what's the word I'm looking for. People have bents, they have talents, they have traits that fit them for certain career fields. And so having a broad understanding of how a person's personality trait might help them flourish in a particular career helps. And there are tools that we use to to do those kinds of assessments. Quite often somebody who comes to a career coach already has a career, and they want to move into another field, or maybe have a slight change of direction, but they're not sure how to do that.
Or there's that budding entrepreneur
There's something inside them that
exactly.
they're afraid to look at. So
That's
it's multifaceted.
Right. Okay. So the other question that came in is, do you believe a coach needs a coach?
Oh yes. Oh absolutely. Oh absolutely. It's one of the things
That's a great question. Whoever sent that in, thank you.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. We coach each other all the time. Colleagues of mine, we do what we call mentor coaching. So I have people, fellow coaches that I call on, and they call on me, say, I'm in a little hump here, I need some coaching to get over this, and we do.
And I feel that sometimes, like, when we get in touch
That's
with each
exactly,
other, we do the same
we
kind
do
of
the
thing.
same.
Like,
Exactly.
hey, I'm working on this with my business, or I'm trying to develop this kind of new thing. Joanne, what do you see from your perspective
Yes.
that I could do?
Yes.
Where I'm like, Joanne, I'm having a crisis. Help me! Although internally there may be times when I feel that way, I try to restrain my emotion. Whatever the issue is, I mean, we're all human.
We're all human.
Acupuncturists have acupuncturists. If they don't, I question that.
Yes, exactly.
To say it nicely. So every professional should have an additional hand, helper, a mentor, a coach if need be, that can help them in their same field. Someone they can have feedback with, and also maybe rant every now and then.
Rant is good. Rant is good.
Yeah.
And we're not all comfortable coaching in all areas.
That's true.
Coaches have niches. So I could maybe need at different times in my life a financial coach, or a writing coach, or a spiritual coach, to help me revitalize my walk. So it's being a coach doesn't mean that you don't ever need to have someone else walking alongside you through a particular thing in your life.
That's good. Okay. So I think we're going to close with my final question.
Okay. Can't wait.
And this is my favorite question I ask every single person. And you'll understand the essence of the question when I ask it. It's very simple. What gets you out of bed every morning? Don't make it Ches. Your little Ches, your toy poodle. I knew that was going to be your answer, so I have to say, no, unacceptable.
Okay.
What is it that gets you out of bed?
What gets me out of bed? And it's been the same for the last 10, 15 years. Is the idea that I can make a difference in someone's life today. Even when I was working in my corporate job, so to speak, and even when I enjoyed that job, the thing that got me out of bed was there is someone that I can smile with today, and that smile simple smile can have an impact on that person's life. There is someone who's feeling invisible that I can look at and fully see and leave them with the impression that someone saw them. There is someone that I can say a word of encouragement to today. There is someone that I can help by being in the Word today. And that's everything that I do has its root in that.
That is amazing. Because everyone, when you get out of bed in the morning, before you put your feet on the ground next to the bed, and before you get up and you start to take your first action into the day, to be able to feel deep inside that you have a purpose, you have a vision, you are on this earth blessed for a specific reason.
For a reason.
So thank you for sharing your reason with us.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity.
Yes, it's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed our interview today, and I'm sure everybody else out there did as well. I don't believe there's any remaining questions, but if you have any, please continue. You can send them directly to this video feed, to the comment section down below, and we'll get to them. You can pass them on to Joanne. You can find her directly at wellwomancoaching.com.
That's correct.
Again, her offer, go to her website, contact her, sign up for the free 30-minute coaching session, and she'll guide you through the next steps, and she'll be right there with you as you work to find your purpose in life. So thank you all so much for joining us today. That concludes our interview today with Joanne Creary of Well Woman Coaching, and I will see you next month for Ask the Expert.